Welcome to everyone watching live and watching later on YouTube and on Spotify, listening on Spotify. So we thought it'd be really good to have someone to come in and talk about kind of the awards and the good points and the bad points of them and that kind of thing. So we brought Jessica in from the Mortgage Introducer Awards. She is the events director. So thank you very much for joining us, Jessica.
Hi, thanks, Marcus.
So let's just start with, talk to me about the Mortgage Introducer Awards. Tell me about them.
Okay, so I guess I'll go back a little bit and talk about Key Media. So Key Media is the media company and the publisher behind the Mortgage Introducer Awards. So Key Media is one of the largest B2B publishers globally and one of the fastest growing as well. And we have events and products in a number of different verticals, so including legal, wealth management, insurance, HR, and one of our largest globally is mortgage industry. So we've run these awards in the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and now in the UK as well for coming on over 20 years now. So we feel pretty confident that we're proven in these industries, and the process that we are kind of following for all of our awards globally are, it's a proven one, and we're confident that it's a strategy that works. So coming back to the Mortgage Introducer Awards, we're really excited to kind of bring our format to the UK now. It's a big gala awards dinner in November, just before Christmas. Obviously it's a B2B event and people come to network, but we also try and make it a really fun evening with, lots of socializing, lots of entertainment, and hopefully lots of fun as well, whilst at the same time recognizing excellence in the industry.
Amazing. So let's talk about so recognizing excellence and that kind of thing. What in regards to that, what kind of businesses can apply, and what kind of businesses are you looking for, and go along that line of
Well, we've updated the award categories over the last year. So anyone that's been part of the MI Awards in previous years will notice that we've got a few new and a few different kind of tweaked categories. So I think there's 28 categories overall, and they're basically open to advisors, broker firms, distributors, lenders, BDMs, service providers, and that's from across the UK. So pretty much, all individuals and organizations from all facets of the industry can apply. There should be an award category that you would qualify
for everyone. Good. Now let's discuss this before we get into how to win an award or what makes you stand out, that kind of thing. Let's discuss this because we talked about it, and it's poignant in the industry, just about kind of the shadier side of the awards, not you guys, but generally, just about the kind of, paper table winner prize type awards. How do you differentiate yourselves from ones that perhaps don't have such a good reputation in the market?
Well, I think going back to what I was saying earlier about the company Key Media behind the awards, we've been running these awards for such a long time, and other models do follow kind of a slight pay-to-play type of model where, you might sponsor an award and you're automatically entered, and we try and stay away from that. And I think, we wouldn't have this many award shows that have gone on for so many years if the events weren't seen as kind of credible. So we really try and be transparent with our whole process, and we've tweaked the process for the MI Awards a little bit as well. From, again, if people have been involved in the awards in previous years, you'll see that it has slightly changed a little bit from the past. So starting from, do you want me to talk about the whole process right now?
Well, that's not the process, just like, I know we talked about like judging and that kind of thing, so it's not so insular as some can be, and it's easy to fix, if I'm honest. How have you got away from that?
Well, and that kind of all ties in a little bit with the process. So, going straight back into the nominations process that we're in right now, that part of it, we are opening it up to everyone from within the industry. People can nominate themselves, and they can have clients nominate them. So it's really open to that. But then we do have a shortlisting period that is done by, we have our internal journalists that really know their market. So, they're also doing research in the background and just finding, those people or those organizations that are really the most deserving, and doing the due diligence and making sure that those that should be recognized are being so. And then each individual or organization is invited to write the kind of pretty detailed submission form, and that's all kept very confidential. So nothing that is shared with us is published anywhere. It's just really for the eyes of our shortlisting team and also for the judges. I think one of the main things that we do is have a panel of external judges who are nothing to do with our organization, who are the ones that basically do all of the voting. So they will read all of the submissions and they vote independently of one another as well. They're not conferring with each other. We make a pretty strong effort to make sure there's no conflict of interest there as well. So, we're looking at their backgrounds. They're obviously from within the industry or industry experts. So we're looking at, people in associations or in education in the mortgage industry. So they understand the industry enough to vote for the awards, but they're not necessarily voting for their own companies or their own clients or whatever that might be. So we definitely do try and remove any categories from their list of votes that there may be a conflict in, and we do ask them to be upfront about that with us as well.
Really interesting, actually, because without you telling anyone that, it's quite hard to differentiate awards. There's lots of people with panels but where your panels are kind of external from, like, it's not going to be your mate doing it, like lots of them are, it's a friend of a friend. It's such a small industry that it must be tough to drum up that panel and make sure you haven't got conflict of interest and that kind of thing. You're obviously quite thorough in that side to make it like a genuine award.
We are very thorough about it, and we, as I said, we have a team of pretty expert journalists that work for Key Media who are helping us research, who might be the right people to approach to be on the panel. We're not paying them to do it. They are giving us their time just because they are appreciating, helping us to create a credible event. We also make them sign a non-disclosure agreement, so they're not discussing anything that they're reading with anyone else. They also have to agree not to confer with one another, and also not to take any handouts from actually they sign an agreement.
People taking that seriously.
They're not allowed to get gifts or anything from potential winners in order to bump up their scores. And I think the last thing that I would say is I know some of the awards, there is a part of the scoring which comes from peer-to-peer voting. So there is a public vote. We always found that, that really disadvantaged maybe the slightly smaller organizations or the less prominent individuals. So we've removed that part from the process, and it's all of the voting and all of the scoring is done solely by the judges. They give us a vote, a first place vote and a second place vote in every category. And each first place vote it's basically a point system. So once all the judges' votes are collated, the person or organization with the most points ends up being the winner.
It's interesting getting rid of that peer-to-peer bit, because it does seem like if you've got the most followers on LinkedIn, you've got a good decent following on any sort of social media platform, then you tend to be pretty good at attracting that. And actually, that's not as relevant to being the best brokerage or being the best lender or distributor. So that does make sense.
And we spoke earlier also, Marcus, about the size of organizations or the prominent organizations, and I think that's where we've also tried to make it kind of fair and pretty equal for the larger and more established organizations or individuals to have a fair chance. How is
that judged out of interest? Because obviously, I mean, I know there's loads of categories they have to go through, but if I'm a 2-man band or a 3 or 4-man band and I'm up against, I know the categories are different, so we separate those large ones, but is it harder for someone to stand out, for instance, if you aren't one of the big boys, or is it fairly rigorously done so that you get a relatively even keel across it?
I think we've tried to make it an even keel by creating different categories that would recognize organizations of different sizes. I think there are certain categories where you would end up having much larger, more established players, as well as smaller, newer players. The form that they complete is the same, and it's basically done on the merits. So, for example, you might have a question not necessarily about your size now, but growth in the last 12 months, for example. So that would then be weighted against, you know,
like
your size.
Relevant percentage as opposed to bring more headcount for me is massive, whereas single headcount for X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we ask questions, for example, you know, about, you know, if it's something that the company might have a budget for, well, what was your budget? And so we can weight it against that. You know, if a company has a £1 million budget versus a £50,000 budget, you know, you can kind of weight that a little bit as well. But for the most part, we've tried to create the criteria so that you know, there is a category for each type and size of organization or individual.
Got you. Makes sense. Good. That all makes sense. So let's get down to the bit that we titled this. So what should people be looking for, or what should people focus on, or what are the judges potentially focusing on when people are submitting? What do you think kind of helps people stand out? Is there anything in particular that you think would help?
So we've created new questionnaire forms, which are, you know, it's a one-step process. So the nomination form itself is actually a long form. And we've directly aligned that with the criteria. So if you go to the Mortgage Introducer Awards website, each award category criteria is listed under the award category. And we've then created the nomination form that directly kind of aligns with that. So really, we're already giving you what we're looking for in terms of, you know, please answer these 3 specific points about this, about yourself or about your organization. One of the things that I would really say, and when people call me up and say, look, we might have been shortlisted, but we haven't been winning, you know, why do you think that is? I think one of the things that I know from speaking to my judges and also the shortlisting team that do that first step is there's lots of people out there doing similar things. So what is it that you're doing that's unique or innovative or slightly, you know, different from the norm? And let's really focus on that, because, you know, you could list all the things your company is doing or you as an individual are doing that people generally do in that position or in that industry. But what are you doing?
Sorry to jump in. It's a really good exercise for companies just to like take a little helicopter view of yourself as well. You know, like we don't get that many times in a year where we look and go, why are we different? Why are we better? What are we doing different? As well as obviously going for an award, I think it's a really useful business tool actually to look at yourself and go, right, what's good, what's bad, how we beat our competitor, because then, you know, that sets you up when you're doing your marketing and the like it. Knowing those things, we don't see it when we're inside a business all the time, do we? But actually having a look from the outside is quite an interesting exercise. Yeah,
and I think, you know, if you consider that the judges are reading a lot of these in their voting period, really kind of be concise, and, you know, if you could make those 3 or 4 things that are unique about you stand out, then those are the things that are going to move you forward to the next step. One of the other things we let nominees do is provide supplementary materials. So that could be testimonials from clients, you know, any reports that you might have done about your growth or your marketing reports, that sort of thing. So really including anything like that, you know, that's relevant to the category you're applying for.
Do any of those hold a higher standing than others, such as like client reviews are really important? Like if your clients love you, you're good at your job. Does it hold a better standing, or is it all kind of relevant in the process?
I think, you know, depending on what the award category is, I think if it's an individual award for a broker or an advisor and you're getting client testimonials and client reviews, I think that really would help. You know, I'm sort of thinking about other awards that I do in different verticals, and, you know, if you're speaking about your business and how good of an employer you are or how good of an organization you are, then testimonials from your staff as well is really helpful. So it definitely doesn't hurt to have those kinds of things backing up your application, for sure.
Good. And actually, out of interest, this is personal interest, but if you're saying like best broker, individual broker, is it on sort of business written as well as, because obviously I know some brilliant £1 million brokers, I also know some really good 200 grand brokers, but you know, if you were putting them together, I would say this £1 million one's better because he writes more business, he keeps more people happy. But is there more criteria? It's not, oh no, it's not just business written, but I think if you're writing $1 million, you're also pretty good at your job. Like you're not giving it me right unhappy. So is there
We are asking about numbers, but we're not just looking at the biggest numbers. We're looking at the growths, percentage growth, and also kind of I'm saying dollar because I work in the North American number. Yeah. So definitely not just the numbers as they stand, but percentage growth. How much your business might have grown in the last 12 months. So yeah, definitely the bigger numbers against the smaller numbers, it's definitely done on merit rather than just on the large numbers.
Good. And I know we kind of we brushed over this a little bit, but in regards to timescales, I know there is some effort that needs to go into going to an award. There's no doubt. It can be a little bit arduous, but at the same time, number one, like we touched on before, that it's actually really good for your business. But talk to me about the timescales and what kind of what effort needs to be put in and what you need for it to be looked at.
Yeah, I mean, it's not meant to be an onerous kind of process like writing a thesis or writing an essay for school. So we've tried not to make it too overwhelming. I believe every category has around 3 or 4 questions to answer with a word limit. So we've kind of put that word limit for the benefit of the person writing it as well as the person reading it.
Is there a word minimum? Can you just write yes or no in there?
Yes. No, there has to be a little bit of detail given. But I think, I mean, if you're planning to apply, looking at the forms with it a couple of weeks to go is obviously the best idea, because then you have time to really kind of think and consider. You can also save for later and come back to it. We put that function in as well because it is a long.
Been out of interest for this year's. What are the timescales for getting nominations?
So the nominations are open until the 11th of August.
Okay.
The 11th of August.
The people
and then there'll be a shortlisting period. Pardon me?
If people are doing them now, they need to get busy. They need to start looking.
They need to get busy. Yes.
If you're doing it in one hit, it's a bit of a it's a pain, isn't it? But actually, if you're doing it and you're doing it, and you've got to get it done.
Yeah, because I think you'd want to go away and kind of collect some of the numbers that you've got to talk about and present. I think sitting down in one shot and writing it, you could do it, but I think you want to put some thought into it. Give it a couple of days time to actually create the best submission that you can.
I know some people do moan about the awards. Some people do moan about the awards process and that kind of thing, but at the same time, you get out what you put in. Like if everyone just got to say yes and no on a thing, it'd be really hard to judge. So at the same time, there has to be some effort put into that nomination and show why you're successful and show the relevant data. Otherwise, it's impossible to judge, isn't it? As much as
exactly. Well, we've also taken it from a 2-step process. So in the past, some of our awards would have a process where the nomination form was very small, kind of just a 300-word, not very detailed, just reason for nomination. And then if you were shortlisted, you'd be invited to fill out the longer form. We've tried to cut out that kind of second period and just have, give us the information in the first step, and really kind of take out that second step that we then have to ask those who are shortlisted to do. So it is your one chance to shine. Put your best effort into it, because this is what is then, if you are shortlisted from this form, this is what's then going to also go to the judges. I believe we do give a little bit of a period to tweak. So, if you've submitted a nomination form and we do notify you that you've been shortlisted, we give you a short period to go back into the form and add or edit anything that you want to, and then that will go to the judges.
I didn't think I was getting through. Quick, make it.
Not completely change it.
Yeah, just change all the numbers. Well, it's too late now.
Exactly.
So I know we kind of touched on this, but it doesn't matter how long people have been around as well. It's not so much size as well. You don't have to. Is there any timescales? I suppose you've got newcomer type ones as well.
Yeah, there's Rising Star Advisor Award, which there is. I believe it's under 5 years in the industry. Yeah. But that doesn't prevent newcomers applying for the other awards as well. But yeah, there isn't a limit on how long organizations or individuals have been established, other than that, the Rising Star Award.
Yeah, got you. So let's talk about the new categories. So I know you've got some new categories in this year that people might be aware of. Let's go through a couple of those and kind of
well, I think the one we were most excited about adding this year was the Women of Distinction, which is a category that we have had in lots of other awards in different verticals, and we've found that it's a very popular award category. Because we want to obviously recognise women in financial services, particularly in the mortgage industry, but financial services as a whole, who are doing outstanding things, and also helping other women who are coming up in the industry as well to succeed. So it's actually open to
in the Women of Distinction. Are they looking for that in regards to helping other women as well, and not the ladder up, as they say, and keep it?
For sure.
Women in financial services is a huge talking point for everyone, because there's lots, I say lots, there's not enough. There are lots of successful women in financial services, and to get that kind of accreditation, I think, is important. There's always the issue of, if you separate it, you make it a thing. But at the same time, we have to recognise that we haven't done enough previously. So I think it is important. It's a tough one.
I think it's definitely important, and I think obviously women in the industry can apply for all of the other categories as well, but this is kind of specifically tailored to recognise those women and this award is actually for any women in any facet of the industry, not just as brokers or advisors. So within any part of the industry, who are just
one category, is it? Just what they've done exactly to shine, and for women specifically. I mean, I know the award is for women. I mean, them shining for women specifically.
Yes.
And what's the other one that we discussed that I thought was really interesting as well? You've got another.
Well, we were looking at the Philanthropy and Community Service Award, which we were sort of saying is a big thing, particularly for organisations in financial services who are doing a lot of things kind of on the side for supporting worthy causes, whether that's within the UK or internationally. That would be the
hardest one to judge, because there are some great people doing such good things that yes, well, I don't have to do it, luckily, but that's a tough
and I do read through them all myself as well, and it is really hard to make selections, and that is open to individuals as well as organizations. So you may well have an individual person up against a big organization, and that's another one, I guess, where it's not necessarily how much has been raised, but it's more about I guess the overall effort that individual or that company kind of puts the time and the thought that goes into, and what they've achieved in that sense as well.
Yeah, that's why it's difficult to judge, isn't it? Because like one individual's time in comparison to what a business has done is very difficult. But I think it's a great category, though. I really do. Like I said, so many people do. Well, I think we could make a whole awards on it. In fact,
I know. I don't
know about ours, but I just think people do so much, and you only see a bit of it, don't you? But it's amazing.
And I think that's a really kind of worthy award that's not necessarily mortgage focused. It's about the merit of an individual or an organisation to kind of give back as well. Yeah.
And also, like being recognised for something you're doing is a lovely thing. But it's the same across all the awards. I think it's really interesting. I know we talked about like the shadier side and that kind of thing. So awards it's always a strange one for me that everyone wants to win one. And when they don't win one, they moan about awards. But it's lovely to be recognised by your peers and by panel of judges, and actually, to do something and win something for it is a nice dopamine hit, isn't it? That's what you.
And I think particularly for organisations of any size, it's a chance to recognise the hard work that your team has put in and the achievements, and people as individuals don't necessarily like to nominate themselves, but it's nice if you're nominating another individual that you think is amazing and has worked that you've worked with and you think they're doing great things. It should be a morale boost for the individual and for the teams as well. It's a chance to celebrate because it's at the end of the year as well. You can celebrate.
That is the start of the 6 weeks of nonsense up to Christmas.
Exactly. It's the start of the Christmas celebrations at the very end of November. So but it's just the recognition in itself, and we always say, that old chestnut about it's not about the winning, it's the taking part. But what I mean is we get hundreds and hundreds of nominations. So if you are shortlisted as a finalist, or as we call excellence awardee, if you're even shortlisted to the final, 5 or 8 in that particular category. That's an achievement in itself, because you've been shortlisted from, you know, a couple of hundred nominations. So it's great to celebrate just even being on that shortlist. I think within, you know, there's a lot of companies and individuals in the UK that are doing great things. So to be kind of showcased as one of the best then is definitely
it is an honour, isn't it? And another thing as well, like people can be neggy in every industry, but actually it's a real positive thing to sit and slap each other on the back and say well done. I don't know why people have an issue with it. It's lovely to be around your peers and say good effort. You know what I mean? It's celebrating wins. It's
exactly.
And it's been a tough year, you know. I think by November everyone's ready to have a drink and say well done. Everyone gets an award. Everyone gets a participation award this year.
Exactly, and we make sure everyone has a good time at the award show as well. It's just a good time to celebrate.
Let's talk about the fun bit. What can they expect? I know we briefly touched on at the beginning. What can they expect from the night, as once we've all done the back slapping and the well dones in it? What does the evening entail, and what can people look forward to?
So just going back, I'll talk about some of the key dates as well. So as we said, we're closing on the 11th of August. If you're shortlisted, you'll be notified around the 18th of September. And then we publicly announced that on the 25th of September. And the event is on the 28th of November. So basically it's a big night of celebration. It's a black tie gala at the Royal Lancaster in London. Kicks off with a cocktail reception, open bar, which is obviously the bit that lots of people are interested in. Great food, and then everybody sits down and has a great 3-course meal. We have our host this year is Dom Holland. He's Tom Holland's dad. I'm not sure Tom's going to be in attendance though. He's probably busy.
Well, just tell people. It's all right.
Yeah. But he's a great comedian, so he's hopefully going to keep everybody entertained throughout the night. And then once all the awards are given out, we have an after party with a live band going on until late. So hopefully it will be a great fun night of celebrating, and lots of people going home with hardware as well at the end of it.
Amazing. And just if anyone listening, don't panic about dates and the like, because everything will be, all of the dates and where you apply, the nominations, etc., will be on all of our social media platforms, on on Spotify, YouTube, etc., and on the website. So I will make sure everything's on there. If anyone does want to contact you and ask you any more questions, Jessica, I'm assuming that's okay. We can.
Yes. I was going to say, you know, obviously a lot of people are going to be watching this recorded rather than live. So you can please email me if you have any questions about the process. Again,
I'll put Jessica's email address and everything on everything.
Yeah. And it's also on the website, the mortgageintroducerawards.com. You can contact me through there, and you can also see all the categories and information about the show on there as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add? Because I think that has answered a lot of questions, because I know there's always been the underside. You don't see the other side of the awards. You just see the front end. So it is really interesting to dive into it and find out what kind of goes into it.
Yeah, I think I would just say, you know, we are looking forward to celebrating excellence in the mortgage industry. So if you want to nominate yourselves, or you know someone or an organisation in the industry that you know you think is doing excellent work, then please don't forget to nominate them in the next 2 weeks. And we look forward to seeing everybody there in November.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I look forward to speaking to you again. And like I said, anyone listening, any questions, just we will get all of the details onto the relevant social media platforms, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.